for.
Hello, a second. I'm muted. Okay. All right. Let me try that again. I'm Executive Director of TALK, the Technology Association of Louisville, Kentucky. My name is Dawn Yankeelove, and we are here today to talk about connected justice with Cisco. Cisco is our sponsor for this talk presentation, and we're going to discuss sustainable solutions for courts, jails, and social services in Kentucky. But before we get started, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on TALK. TALK is a nonprofit tech council, employer-led, here in Louisville, Kentucky. We work statewide, and you can find us on our website, www.talklou.com. So what do we do? Our main mission is workforce and economic development. This means we work in all types of areas from STEAM curriculum for youth all the way up through true workforce development programs, upskilling sessions, participation in the work groups of Cybersecurity's new U.S. Cyberspace Solarium Commission, Code.org, various other organizations that are at the national and state level that participate in activities important to tech professionals. And so we are a member of TECNA, the Tech Councils of North America, and CompTIA, which some of you may know is close to being the largest IT trade association in the U.S. today. And we're a 501c3, which means we are a nonprofit. So we always look for new board members as we approach the new year. So if anyone's interested, feel free to reach out to me, DawnY@talklou.com. I want to take you through some quick thoughts on our programs. So we always participate in workforce development in the community. Right now, we're involved in the Build Better Back sessions. There's a particular one on education and one on health and equity that TALK has participated in, run by Metro Louisville. We are working at the national level in cybersecurity advocacy, particularly in cyber learning and cyber awareness. And then we'll be involved in D.C. as we get into February of next year. Every year we get involved in the fly-in approach and talking to our legislators about what's next in our country as relates to tech subjects. We will have our Tech Fest August 2021. Hopefully it'll be live. We're all hoping, right? Fingers crossed. And we'll continue in the new year with our STEAM curriculum. Right now we are running a virtual Tech Girls program for middle school girls. We do monthly talk meetings like this one. And we are also doing some training sessions, which will start again in January with the Cyber Readiness Institute for any small business who is struggling to try to put together their own cybersecurity program. It'll be a 6-week course. And then again in June, we did have this past June a virtual cyber summit. We may hopefully be live by June of next year. We're going to call that a little bit later. So thank you for your time this morning, and we're going to jump right into the session with Daniel Stewart leading us and get into the subject of connected justice.
Thank you very much, Dawn, and good morning to everybody in Kentucky. A pleasure to be with you today. A little bit of my background quickly. I've been with Cisco for 9 years. Prior to that, I had 8 years in the military. I had 12 years as a elected official. I was a mayor of a city in upstate New York. And then the governor of New York asked me to not be a mayor anymore and to become the commissioner and chairman of the New York State Commission of Correction, where I led the oversight agency for the state prison system, county jails, and Rikers Island. So I am going to start moving the slides here, going through this. And along the way, we're going to have a few questions that we're going to ask, some polling questions as we get through each area. But I would ask that you, go along with us and give us your opinions on what we're about to talk about. So first and foremost, Cisco Connected Justice, a solution set, a platform. It's all about correctional facilities, health and human services, courts, post-incarceration programs, a lot of different areas that are coming in together because a lot of our customers were looking for ways, especially during the pandemic, to be able to respond to the integral activities that they have, the intricacies of what they have to do in their jobs, but now that they're remote, to be able to make more things remote and capable. and make it of enough value and quality that it can be done and be the replacement when necessary during a disaster recovery, such as a pandemic. So we'll talk about the correctional facilities. Health and Human Services is going to be toward the back end of the presentation, but we're first going to start out with courts. So I have to flip the slides a different way here, so I'm not used to doing it this way. So WebEx. It's what we're using today. Like all the platforms that are out there that people are choosing from, we have ours. And in the courts area, we had to do certain things to be able to build with the courts, with our customers, to make sure that they would have certain things that they needed. The baseline was they needed to have side rooms in case there was an attorney-client privilege that had to take place. If the attorney is at his house and the individual who is incarcerated is at the jail and it's a court hearing, they need a place to go to talk to each other privately. So they had to have those secure rooms. We built them. The backgrounds, anybody that used anything, WebEx or any other competitive type, you know that the backgrounds have become a very popular thing. For the judges, though, they really wanted blurred backgrounds, and they had to have a way not to show their houses while they were doing their casework. And a lot of different things that we had to do with our customers to make sure that we would meet their requirements, and we did those. However, Cisco made a very strategic decision during the pandemic on a few different levels, and you'll see a couple today, of how it is that we're going to go a little bit deeper into these areas of justice and health and human services, and how it is that our customers are responding to that. So I'm going to give you an overview very quickly of a few things that we're doing, such as when you go to court, you receive something that says you have to go to court, and you go to court, and everybody is there. But now when you have to do it remotely, it becomes a different story. So if there's going to be a hearing, we had to find a way to utilize WebEx and to be able to integrate that into a dashboard environment. So I'm giving you some mock-up slides right now, development that we have. And, it's a very interesting way in which someone who is remote, like a judge, who may be in Louisville or some other part of the state that has to be able to have a hearing somewhere, for them to be able to sign in, and as well the defendant, the lawyers, the interpreters, whoever it may be for that case. And it's a different way of signing into WebEx. You click a link and you get something like this. You put in your case number, your name. What is your role? Are you the witness? Are you the lawyer? Are you the judge? And then everybody ends up going into court. So for the judge, it's already been determined across the court what judge has what case. And what court type is it? Is it criminal? Is it non-criminal? Is it traffic? All different types of courts that are out there, and there are a lot of them. Those of you who may work with courts, you know this. So it's about finding the proper judge for the case. So what WebEx does is it will consume the case management, the court management platform into a visual, and then the judge will be assigned to that case. So when the judge opens their computer in the morning, all of their cases will be listed. And when they look at them, they'll be able to go ahead and check the virtual room to see if everybody's there. And you can see on the right-hand side is a virtual room. Again, this is a mock-up. This is not out there right now. It's just a mock-up of what we're planning here. So now the judge looks, the judge can see who is in the lobby and who's not. And the judge has to make a determination whether or not to start the hearing without those other people. Well, you can't start it without the defense attorney. And, so you're going to have to wait for that person. Maybe the judge puts this one on hold and moves to the next one. And then there's that flexibility that certain customers have come to us with to say, we need flexible activities, the ability to move on and keep our docket moving. And then when you get into court, when that judge or that clerk of the courts, whoever it is, presses that final thing, you'll come into what is more like a standard WebEx we're in today. And then if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see that who is in charge, and then who are the attendees and what are the roles that they have. And then you'll be able to do breakout rooms, all of the types of things that are necessary, again, for the court to operate in either a virtualized 100% way or in a hybrid environment with some physically at the court and the rest being remote. Or if you're just going to be in the physical courtroom and bring in an occasional person, you still use the same platform. So that's what we've been doing with our customers, is finding the ways in which they want to see this. And instead of going to customers with a product and saying, here's what we have, we've gone to our customers and said, or asked, how can we make this better? And that's what Cisco is doing. We're asking the question, how do we make this better? How do we make it better for you as an agency, as a court entity, to be able to have the flows of your court built into a platform? And there are a few different ways that we're doing this, and we'll be bringing that out to the public very soon. But we've met the base needs, but we want to get more involved, more deeply involved in the courts on what it is that their expectations are, rather than what a vendor may just want to supply to the industry and say, that's what you have to work with. One other piece, when I said multiple courts, it's multiple courts, civil, criminal, but then you have the specialty courts, and I'm sure in Kentucky these exist. Drug courts, veteran courts, mental health courts, opioid courts, and soon to be eviction court. Eviction court. Who would have thought of eviction court? It's always been something that's been done in courts, but not specific to it. Why would we need that? The pandemic, the amount of people that have lost their jobs and are unemployed. They can't afford their apartment, their home, or their business, and the landlord wants to be paid. Those things will be settled somewhere, and they're going to be settled through the court hearings. We did have a state that came to us and said, look, we really need to find a way to do this and do it properly when it happens, when the moratoriums are lifted. So we've been working with one of our integrated partners, 5 Point Solutions, and they're putting WebEx into their platform, which will be able to bring this reality of eviction court right off the forefront, to be able to be where someone submits electronically to evict somebody. The person being evicted has the ability to respond in. The hearing is set. They all receive the time and date. They sign in, and then they're in court. And it's going to be a collaborative court that way, like all courts are. It's not always a collaborative court, but it's a court. And we are hoping that this will meet the needs of the customers that we have. And it's a very unfortunate situation that we have in the country, that we have that type of situation happening, but that is a reality. So before we hop over to corrections, I need to ask a polling question. And the first polling question is this. Do you agree or disagree that the courts can deliver effective justice with virtual cases? And do you think the public would be better served to have certain courts continue remotely, allowing citizens flexibility of times to appear? And to go a little deeper on that question, do you think the fact that there are now murder trials happening on these platforms with socially distanced jurors, is that as fair as it was before? And do you believe that maybe a traffic court should be able to be more virtualized than it was before, so you don't have to take time out of work to go downtown? You could just quickly have an appearance time on your own iPhone or Android or tablet and go into court that way to plead your case. So that's a baseline of the question. Agree or disagree that the courts can deliver effective justice with virtual cases? And it's a real hot button question in a lot of places across the country. So we'll go ahead and see how people agree or disagree with that. And we'll give you a couple of seconds to look that one over, and it's over in the polling area.
The poll is now closed.
All right, thank you. And now we're going to go ahead over to incarceration. So we've gone to court, and now some people are going to be incarcerated. At the start of the pandemic, Cisco was asked by a specific customer. They had a dire need. They had over 6,000 inmates, and they needed to find a way that families could visit the inmates remotely from their homes because they could no longer go to the facilities in order to visit them. It was going to be shut down as far as in-person visitation. So Cisco went ahead and deployed a system with 200 video units, and it works. It's a wonderful thing, and it works. But as we saw that, we also realized that there was not in existence a system in the United States or globally that would allow a prison system or a county jail to be able to actually schedule and automate the visitation of not only family visits, but also telemedicine, telepsychiatry, education, attorney visits, reentry groups, religious groups, anyone that was trying to get contact to the inmate population in order to deliver a service, that now the doors were closed. And we saw this all over the country. We were equipping judges and jails with all kinds of equipment in order to get them to at least be able to get some people in and out of jail and to reduce some of those populations as they chose to do so. But the big thing after that was, how do you automate this system? How do you make it where someone can just go ahead and remotely schedule a visit? So for all of those use cases, for all of those people, legal side, medicine side, education side. How do we meet the needs of the pandemic, but also meet the needs of any disaster recovery? Meaning, let's say there was flooding in Kentucky, and suddenly people could not go to court to do something or could not get to the jail to have that visit as an attorney to their client. Could you still continue that type of stuff as long as the network is still up? And the answer was yes, but how do you automate it? So all of those use cases existed out there, but there had never been anybody that put together that type of, and I'm going to go very technical, standards-based equipment in order to do it. And like I tried to tell people when I was meeting with a lot of non-technical people, of which I was before I came to Cisco, non-technical people, and try to explain the standards-based, it becomes very simple. Would you buy an iPhone if you could only talk to someone who owned an iPhone? Your answer would be no. Would you buy an Android phone if you could only talk to an Android? Your answer would be no. Would you buy an iPhone that can talk to any other phone, regardless of its AT&T, Sprint, Verizon? Yes, you would. That means it's standard across the board. Every vendor can have their piece of it, but it has to all connect to each other. And unfortunately, in the visitation world, inmate telephone visitation and the video visitation has been siloed in that manner, where it does not talk to everything else. So we built it. And this is the simplicity of how this works when we want to be able to find the inmate. So I see a colleague of mine on here, Eric Lewis from Kentucky. He's on here, and I see him. He might be in Tennessee, actually. I see him on here, and I'm going to imagine for a moment that Eric is in the county jail, and I am his attorney, and I want to meet with him. Well, how do I do that? How can I do that? I will go to the website of the Department of Corrections. I will press the button that says Attorney Visit. When I press that, it is going to bring me into another view, which is going to be the schedule. Because I'm an attorney, I can now put in Eric's information, and up in front of me, I will be given the dates and times that the video unit located in the jail closest to Eric will be available for him to meet with me. And if you really want to look at it in other ways, how is it that you book a hotel room? How is it that you book a open table restaurant reservation? We're doing the same thing here, except we're booking an inmate's time in order to be able to speak to them. So I know on the 25th of August, I can have Eric at any of those times that are in there because they're all open. And the ones that are not available will be blocked out in red. So that is how I, as an attorney, know what time I can meet him. And the way we do that is very simple. We just have to go back 2 slides and we look. Every jail, every prison has an offender management system that knows exactly where the inmate is located inside of the jail or prison. We consume that information. When the person tries to schedule, we match the video unit closest to Eric with the reservation. And therefore, at the time of the call takes place. And it makes it a much easier way to bring in the courts, for them to have different types of hearings, for the medical community to have different types of interactions on telemedicine and telepsych. And that, in and of itself, is a big change inside of the world of corrections. But when I say education in corrections, for years, that was a no-no. It was a political no-no. Why would someone in jail or prison be given education? However, for years in most places, the local school districts have been required to give GED courses to people that are in a county jail. All across the United States, it's been like that. But now many prisons and jails are giving other types of education to the people in the facility for a reason. When they go back out, they want them not to have to return. And that becomes a big thing that is happening across the globe now. But in the United States, the last 10 years have seen the most major changes in the correctional institutions that we have. And when we look at the next slide, video units go into these prisons, into these jails. They're either protected or unprotected, in metal cases behind plexiglass or not. But those video units are used for the education, for the courts, for all these other type of activities. All of those visitations come in on a screen that is big enough and is quality enough for it to be a good court hearing or a good educational interaction. In fact, if you look at the lower right of your screen, there's a Cisco video unit inside of that. There are 500 of those deployed in Toronto, Ontario, Canada today. Every single cell in that jail has one of these video units, and all services are delivered by video to those folks inside their cells rather than common areas inside of housing areas. That's a tremendous way of showing a commitment to being able to have someone attend college from jail or prison. And a lot of people may say, well, wait a minute. But when you think about it, do we want a better person coming out or not? Now, how do you bring that further? We take that same scheduling component that Cisco created, and we bring it down to an education tablet. So now we can go to a corrections grade tablet, which will have WebEx in it, but also all of the educational tools that someone can use that are both local and those that they take from other areas in order to have people learn things. And those learning things could be anything from what could be regular education, even to anger management classes, domestic violence classes, things that are the carrot and the stick inside of corrections. If you have one of these in your hand, you're less likely to leave jail or prison and recidivate and come back. Any program that is given to an inmate inside of a facility through many studies is at least a 4 to 7% reduction in the chance that they will ever return into the system. So as the correctional industry, let's say, matures, it is maturing with these tools in order to reduce violence in the facilities, give the inmates positive things to do, and then hopefully give them the tools that when they go out, they will not come back in. And that is the ultimate goal of what this entire platform is for. So now we have to go to another poll question. Having seen the overview on corrections, the ability to do remote visitation, and again, remembering that there were 3 different areas in our country during the pandemic that were heavily hit by COVID-19. There were nursing homes, meatpacking facilities, and correctional facilities. Those were the 3 that were most dramatically hit. For those folks, they were not getting family visitation. They were not getting legal advice in timely fashion. Some should have been let out, but they couldn't be let out until such time as that connectivity could happen. So is it the right thing or not to have these type of systems inside of jails and prisons? So, number 2, do you agree or disagree that incarcerated people should be given drug and alcohol rehabilitation programming and educational opportunities while in jail or prison? And we didn't hit too much on the drug and alcohol, but I will tell you that at least 40% of the people that are locked up in our county jails across the United States suffer from a mental illness, and at least 60 to 70% of the people who are incarcerated committed their crime while under the influence of drugs or alcohol. So, do you agree or disagree that incarcerated people should be given drug and alcohol rehabilitative services and educational opportunities while in jail and prison? And this is, again, another topic that sometimes people can get riled up about. But again, what is it that we expect to have come out of those gates from behind those walls? The same person or someone who is different? And we'll give you a second to go ahead and answer that one.
The poll is closed.
All right. Thank you very much, folks, for doing that. So now, let's say that the person has left incarceration, and now they are on a community supervision program. This could be probation. It could be parole, some alternative to incarceration program that a city or a county has. And how do you now deliver services to these individuals who have been released or are deviated from going to jail in the first place through a drug court, veteran court, mental health court, opioid court? The less people behind bars, the better, if they're not violent offenders. But what do we do while they're still on the street? Well, we have teamed up with another company called TrackTech. And what TrackTech does is they deliver a platform of program of probation and parole for people who have left or those that are on a specialty program. In this, the individual takes their own personal phone and has a free app download out of the App Store. When they download the app, the probation or parole officer or the case manager for drug court, whoever it is, will give the individual a 6-digit code. They put that 6-digit code in, and now their entire case management for probation, parole, or this alternative to incarceration program are now on the individual's phone, their own smartphone. No one pays for the app from Cisco for Cisco WebEx on their phone, but it is already embedded in there. This is just a piece of this product. It has WebEx in it. The individual never even sees WebEx. All they see is that there's a video call coming in, and that video call will be from their probation officer, parole officer, or their case manager. And why would we do that? During the pandemic's early days, there were 4.6 million people in the United States on probation or parole, and there were another 4.3 million on alternative to incarceration programs. 9 million people, zero oversight. Officers couldn't visit them at home. The only way you'd know where anybody was is if they were on an ankle bracelet. Out of that 9 million population, the amount on an ankle bracelet added up to less than 300,000. 8.7 million people with very, very, very extremely limited or no supervision. If an individual has on their phone, regardless of the type of phone, because we are standards-based, if they had this on their phone, their officer could have called them on video and said, "Show me where you are." But they couldn't force somebody on an iPhone to talk to them if the officer had an Android. They couldn't do FaceTime that way. So this is a product that not only gives the ability of reporting in remotely in order to maybe take someone on probation or parole who has a job, and while they're working, they can't really take a half day off without upsetting their employer that they're going to see their probation officer. If they're on a program and they're behaving well, they'd be able to do a reporting in by video. Also on this same platform is a homeless app. So if an individual is homeless, how do they find help? I just got out of jail. I knocked on the door. Mom and dad won't let me stay there. They're very upset with me. I don't have any friends to go to. I need to stay somewhere. I can press the homeless app on the piece of this platform. It will bring up Google Maps with every homeless shelter within my proximity. And then I can press on each one to find out if I qualify, if I can even stay there. Is it men only, women only, families, pets, no pets? And if in that region the homeless shelters agree to do so, they could actually put the information into the cloud, and I would be able to book a bed for that night at the homeless shelter. So those of us who have always used apps like Hilton Honors and Marriott Rewards and things such as that, think now that, wow, someone who's homeless can actually hop on a phone. And some may say, well, how do homeless people have phones? At least 60% of the homeless population, sheltered or unsheltered, have smartphones. Minimum, 60%. So therefore, we can reach a great majority of them. And if they have a phone already for a program like this, they can use that app and be able to go ahead and secure a place to stay. There are also behavioral health programs in here for cognitive therapy for drug addicts and alcoholics. Now, we've been talking a lot about drug addicts and alcoholics and homeless people, and I am very deeply engaged in this because I am a recovering drug addict and alcoholic with 32 years sober in about 2 weeks, and I'm a former homeless veteran. I was living under a bridge in 1988 in a city in upstate New York, which I became mayor of 12 years later. So I went from under the bridge to being inaugurated as a mayor of the same city, Plattsburgh, New York. And I am one of the fortunate ones in our society that didn't end up in jail, could have, didn't. And I was able to have a really good career because I got clean and sober. Working with the companies and the people internally at Cisco, I'm extremely enlightened by the fact that we're going down these roads in this direction to try to bring services to people to help make them better, to put them on the right track, to give them a chance. This also, besides that light app that I talked about, you can also get a hardened phone. It's a hardened Samsung phone. It replaces the ankle bracelet, which is a very It's not a good thing to wear around town. You don't want to be the guy wearing the ankle bracelet around town. And it's stigmatizing. There's actually dynamic geofencing in this. So if Eric and I had been friends, but then we had a fight, and he said to the courts, I want him away from me, not within, just keep him away, and they put a order on me, I couldn't come within 300 feet of Eric. Well, on my phone, if it's an issued phone like that, if I come within 300 feet of Eric's house or his work, fine, but what if we go to the mall? Well, the dynamic geofencing will also be on his phone, his personal phone. And if I'm within 300 feet of him anywhere on planet Earth, he will receive an alert on his phone and an exit route on Google Maps on how to leave. I will be notified I'm within proximity of Eric and be warned I need to take this exit route and leave. Therefore, victims of abuse, victims can have a way of being notified if something is going wrong, because previously the only thing that was being protected was the home and the workplace. We can protect everywhere now. And that's, I think, is a wonderful way in which victims can be served. Now, moving on to the next slide, and someone's typing. I don't know who it is, but if they could mute, that'd be great. When we look at the dashboard here, you're looking at a dashboard of TrackTech that we just talked about. This is where the case manager or the probation officer would be looking. They would have maybe 100 clients, but they pick the one they want. And it's very easy for them because they're able to go ahead and just see where the person is located. That's my house here in Florida, where the little drop is. Am I compliant? Am I offline? Am I online? It really depends, and they can use it that way. But the easiest part about it is to make the video call. Cisco and TrackTech decided that they would just make it one touch. You don't have to put in Dawn at Yankelov at WebEx, da-da-da-da-da. None of that. No, you just go here where it says video icon. When you press that video icon, you immediately dial out to that program member. And as an example, here I am in my home. On the left-hand side, that is me as the probation officer. And that is a cell phone as participant 1. And also the track phone video, as you can see on the track phone itself, where the two of them are able to see each other on video. That's the simplicity of this. It's one touch. It's not about a product name. You'll never see WebEx in the TrackTech platform, but it's what the component is that is used for video in order to make this possible. Now, let's talk very quickly about homelessness case management, children and family services, and outreach services. We looked at the TrackTech platform and we said, we could do other things with that, and we should do other things with that. So we've created REACH, which is reaching out and achieving community healing. This is first going to be positioned in El Paso, Texas. It's also being looked at already by the state of California. And what they're looking at is, instead of probationers, instead of parolees, let's talk about the homeless population itself. The one we already know 60% of them have a phone. How do we now allow a case manager to reach them, talk by video, and bring all social services of the city or county through the same portal to have access to that individual, whether they're sheltered or unsheltered? How can we achieve that mobility reality? And today we can do it. So we are building out this entire platform to where all of these things, you could see what the upcoming schedule is with the individual, talk to them, make sure they know they have to be somewhere. They'll have a calendar attached to this. And then when you look at this, there's Breaking Free, which is a cognitive therapy program for drug addicts and alcoholics. Well, a lot of homeless people have alcohol problems. There's a lot of mental illness with homeless people. But what are the other county programs they may be able to go to? Where do they go to get a job? All of those pieces and all of the case management that is currently done on these case management platforms that people already have, this platform just consumes your information. It does not replace it. It consumes the information you already have and gives you a capability of connectivity to your client far beyond what currently exists in most places globally. And again, we made it really easy to where if you want to chat or do the video call, you can do that. I was in Southern California right before COVID shut us all down. I met with 5 counties about this. And one of the counties had just issued 700 iPhones out to homeless people. And I asked the question, what do they get to do with the phone? They said, well, they can call family or friends, and they're available for us to call because if we find housing, we have no other way of knowing where they are, right? So a certain part of the population they had to issue phones to, but the rest of the folks already have phones. So when they looked at this, they were like, oh, wait a minute now. If we can actually deliver social services this way, we don't have to have people trying to find transportation and buses and taxis and everything else and Uber to get down to our offices to submit for something. We could do it by video and be able to do all that casework and be able to have people get their files and everything inside of a case platform that is on their phone as well. And that is a significant change in the way in which the delivery of health and human services has been moving over the years. It's an ability to bring a visual dashboard to the case manager with immediate connectivity by video to the individual or chat, whatever way they decide. So these different parts of the program are exciting for us. They're the things that our engineers are happy to build. They see a social element to it on all levels that is exciting for them. And I've heard from numerous folks that work for Cisco and our resellers that talk about, I'm so happy that I'm able to go out and talk about something that means something directly to my community. And that's what we're doing here is, yes, we're building solutions, but we're building them to the need of the client with the client's advice and guidance and making it so then it can be repeatable in other places. And that, my friends in Kentucky, is the overview of justice. That is the overview of courts, corrections, post-incarceration, social services, and homelessness. I hope that it is something that was intriguing to you. I hope it's something that you find interesting. And if ever you want to have any follow-up, there'll be some information on how to do that. But we're really excited about these projects and these solutions. And I guess we could also take some questions if anybody wants to chat those in. But I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Rakisha. Rakisha, take it away.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. We did have one more poll question if you wanted to go ahead and do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, we did. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Number 3, I forgot to do this at the end of community supervision. Do you agree or disagree that people on probation or parole would be less inclined to reoffend if they were given programs and tools for success and by allowing probation and parole officers the ability to let people report in via video using technology of today? So it's a change from the past. And it's a loaded question. But do you believe that we should give people who are out on probation and parole the tools to achieve a way of not coming back through the system? Now, that might mean your car's not broken into next week. That might not mean some of the crime is going to occur in Louisville. But still, people always have opinions and they have feelings about these things. Do you or do you not think that we should give that opportunity to an individual? And we'll let the poll question go for a second here, and then Rakisha will let us know when we can take some questions, or Dawn might want to have some input. I saw her shaking her head a couple times during this.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Daniel. I just wanted to ask, how do you package this type of program? Like if someone like a United Way or a special ministry group wanted to work with you, is it by the seat you're selling this, or how are you packaging this?
Well, it's the company that we work with is called TrackTech, and they're, of course, transforming this to Reach as well. And what we would do is we would connect those agencies with them and through the Cisco team. And what we would do is find a way to have a meeting with them, sit down, talk about it, look at the ways in which it could work for them. But again, this is all customizable. And that's the nice thing about it. It's customizable, right? So it doesn't have to be the way it is in El Paso or the way it is in San Francisco. It can be the way it is in Louisville. And I think that's a nice thing about it. And like I mentioned, if you have that free app download inside of your phone, no one has to pay for that app. That's a free app. Anybody can have that today. If you want WebEx on your phone, download WebEx Teams, and you'll have a free use of WebEx Teams. But the officer or case manager needs a WebEx license put into that dashboard. So it's just going to depend upon how many seats they have. Each person has their own caseload, and they just have to have a WebEx license in there, and then they work with TrackTech Reach in order to know what the price is for the platform itself that consumes their case management and gives them the visuals. So anytime someone wants an overview on that, we're happy to do it.
And could you name any case studies is there anyone in Kentucky or Indiana or any of our contiguous states using this tool at this point?
Well, I can tell you that the 18th Judicial District in Colorado Youth Probation is using this, but just a little north of you in Indiana, Elkhart County, Indiana, we had a meeting with them 2 weeks ago, and the drug court judge, when she looked at it, she said, "I want it," and the youth division director said, "I want it," and probation said, "We want it." And they're going to be, I think, deploying probably about 500 to 750 people on this program over the next month in Elkhart County, Indiana. And the reason why is just it made so much sense. They had already, deployed courtrooms with Cisco. They already had some visitation for the youth offenders and for the jail. But when they saw this piece, they were like, this is what finishes it out. This is what does it, right? So, the problem for some of the courts right now, like the drug courts, is people call in, they call in on their phone. You don't even know if that's them. It's just a voice, right? But if they're on video, much, much better. And if they have the platform as a part of their drug court release to be able to go into drug court and be in the program, or as part of the probation terms, then they'll have it on their phone and they'll have the video capabilities attached to it. So regionally, our region is Kentucky, Tennessee, Indiana for that area of the country. So within your region, we are deploying in Elkhart, Indiana, and also I expect Marion County, Indianapolis in the not too distant future. I'm hoping so. They've looked at it and they like it.
Do you have any statistics on the value? I mean, have you done some beta testing on how these tools present in terms of value?
No. Here's the issue. A lot of stuff has been created during the pandemic. Therefore, data is not there. However, TrackTech existed before the pandemic, as well as a few other mobile applications that were being used in different ways. And the American Probation Parole Association were looking at the stigmatizing, use of ankle bracelets and trying to find ways in which that could be addressed. But we met TrackTech. I met TrackTech in Miami at the APPA conference. And I asked them, I said, do you think you'd ever want to put a video element inside of your tool set? And they said, well, we thought about that. I said, well, think about this. If there's a blizzard somewhere or a hurricane and someone can't get to drug court that day, everybody could still do drug court. Everybody could still do probation if they had a tool to do it, and they could do it by video. They believed in that, so they integrated with Cisco WebEx. The rest of the industry has not integrated to a standards-based video. There are a couple players out there that have a siloed video. But again, when a drug court is on a video unit from Cisco or one of our competitors, they're allowed to call out to that mobile phone that has this platform in it. But the other providers can't because, again, they're in a silo. They're not standard-based. So we, as standard-based, we have the only one standard-based that is available to do that. So we will begin to get more and more data, but there's no doubt, I think, in anybody's mind that as an individual, if you are damaging to society, you're incarcerated for being damaging, and you leave damaged, you're probably going to continue damage. I don't see any way around that personally. But if you were to give me something like in 1988, when people helped me without me even asking them to and came and saved me and gave me a process by which I could get sober and clean and I could become a productive member of society, I did. Not everybody's going to do that. And we are not fooling ourselves here. There's a certain amount of the population that won't ever go beyond recidivating. They'll keep recidivating. But there are those that are worth the effort and worth the chance. And I can tell you that talking with the sheriffs and other folks at Rikers, when I was the chairman of corrections for the state of New York, and I traveled that state and went to numerous facilities, 100 some odd facilities, probably about 30% of the people incarcerated in that state probably didn't need to be there. if there was a proper program for them to be deviated from incarceration. Incarceration is not the best place to be to learn new things unless they're offering education. So I think any program, as we know, while incarcerated, if you're educated, you have less recidivism when you leave. You have a lower rate of coming back. If you go on probation and have further tools, you'll have less of a chance of going back. Hope that answers that. I give long-winded answers.
No, it was good. It was good to kind of get the overview there and hear some of the case studies that are out there.
Yeah. So do we have any people out there that are on the call that want to ask any questions?
If you'd like to ask a question, please submit it in the Q&A panel at the bottom right-hand side of your screen.
So I'll ask one more question. Daniel, what is the future of this technology? I mean, do you think that there's projections out there already of, 50% of the courts going to something like this in the next 12 months, or what is your expectation?
There's no doubt in my mind that every court in Kentucky has found a way to operate during COVID. They've chosen a platform to operate on to get through it. It doesn't seem to be ending, right? And as the courts continue to go down this road and decide long-term on what the solutions are that they're going to use long-term, my understanding from talking with so many judges, so many court clerks, lawyers, it looks like a hybrid world for the future. Because learning that everybody could do this remotely, learning that we could successfully do it, and that there are going to be tools that are enhanced to make it even easier, makes it where it's not just the pandemic, but that hurricane I talked about, the flooding, the blizzard, whatever it may be. If there's a disaster recovery, we can continue the operation of justice, and we can continue to deliver social services programming to those who need it. So all of those elements can be brought together in a hybrid world. We're going to have some that are going to be fully going back to normality, while others are going to say no. And I think also the citizenry. If I were in Louisville and I could hop online and do my traffic ticket and not have to go downtown, maybe pay for parking, take time out of work, I might want to do traffic court that way. I might want to do a certain type of hearing that way. We have noticed already that on another thing that we did was WebEx for legislatures. So if the county legislature needed their WebEx specialty license, which we have, not only is that good for them, but also at the state level, because now if you're stuck in that area that's been affected, you could still attend the meeting. You could still attend the county or the city meeting or the state meeting. You could still be a member of that committee and just come in virtually. So I think that reality of virtualization that we've all, well, let's be honest. All of us have used one of these things on our phones to talk to someone far away, right? It's just in government we haven't done it, right? Coming to work in government, we didn't do that all the time. Little by little, pieces were being brought into the courts and corrections. But the reality today is everybody not only knew how to do it, they quickly adapted to it in their government role. And because they've adapted to it, and because the public is now probably going to demand more of it, I think the public demand will drive that, and there'll be an acceptance on the government side to allow that to happen.
Is this primarily a state-level decision as it relates to the court systems, or is it all, each county has a choice?
Depends on the state. So some states tell their counties what they have to use. Some states recommend what the county should use. Some counties and cities think the state told them they had to use that when in fact they didn't. We've seen that all over the place. But the state is the higher entity within most states, the AOC. But at the local level, it's usually the county and the city IT division that are the ones overseeing all the IT purchases. And therefore, are they at a directive by the state or not? And they really have to determine that. Just because the state has a guideline, it doesn't mean it has to be that type of equipment or platform. And we're finding more and more that as our customers are asking those questions, in some states where our competitors had that state directive, they are now bucking that and saying, no, we're going to use WebEx. We had our first murder trial on WebEx 2 weeks ago, and I watched that, and it was a socially distanced jury. And again, data will tell in the end how effective these types of courts are, but it's going to take a while to get that kind of information back in on its fairness and other things. But it's changing times, and it's up to those locals that are required to put that type of platform into place to make sure they ask those right questions about, am I ordered to do this? Is it the only choice I have, or can I have another choice?
Well, thank you. Very informative.
Any other questions? Okay, well, again, I hope it was informative. I hope people learned something about the direction of technology, where it's going. Maybe some places you never thought it would. And we're happy to continue the discussions on this. And thank you so much for the opportunity to team up to be able to do this, Dawn.
Yes, we thank everyone on the call. And if you want to learn more about Talk, go to talkloo.com and find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We're doing a weekly newsletter that relates to COVID-19 as well as tech. And so we're happy to have you take a look at that on our social media, or you can send me an email and I will add you to our newsletter list. But it's been a pleasure today to hear about this new technology, and I'm sure it's going to be much more pervasive as we get into 2021. So I thank the entire team for participating today, and we look forward to hearing more about the stats. Maybe in 6 months we'll hear more from you on what you learned. That would be great.
That'd be great. Let's come back and do it.